Stewart is the author of the book called The 13 Cubed, and it's a case study in mind control and programming. And he's going to share with us some of his experiences in mind control and help us to understand when mind control is a part of our personal lives. So we're excited about Stewart and everything that he has to talk to us about, and we know that there's going to be lots and lots of questions about the information that Stewart is going to share with us, because he has a wealth of information, and I'm excited about it. So we're going to go ahead and bring Stewart in. Stewart, are you there?
Hi. Yes, I am. Hi, Angelica and Sheba.
Hey, Stewart.
Hi, Stewart. We're so excited that you're here. We're so excited about this.
Thank you. Are you
awesome.
Are you down in Atlanta?
Absolutely.
Yes,
we're in Atlanta,
the ATL.
Hot.
Where are you located again, Stewart?
I'm in Western Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay, you're cold. You're very cold right now. You're very cold.
Well, that's what my mother says about me.
I like your mom.
You're very funny. Well, Stewart, you know I'm excited about this interview. Of course, I've heard a lot about the book, The 13 Cubed, and I've done some research on the book myself. However, I have not read the book yet, and I'm excited about purchasing the book so that I can read it. But there are some questions that I want to ask you about the book, although I haven't read it. And the first question that I wanted to ask you about is the chapter that you have in Section 1 called the Stalker Programming. First of all, wait a minute. First, before you answer that question, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and what it is that you do and how you got to know all this information that you know that you put in the book, The 13 Cubes.
Okay, well, it's a long story, but I'll make it short. My great-uncle Yakov Sverdlov, was the first president of the Soviet Union. And my grandfather was sent to the United States to help form the Communist Party here and to entice people to come back to the Soviet Union. And my grandmother was a Soviet spy during World War II. But I do like to mention that in World War II, the Russians and the Americans were on the same side, so it wasn't such a bad thing back then. And so because of that background, my family, especially my father and myself, were taken into service by the United States government in intelligence areas in order to assure loyalty to the United States and to nowhere else. And part of what my service was between 1970 and 1983 was in the Montauk Project, which some of the listeners may have read about or learned about. And that was a program for 13 years about mind control, genetic manipulation, weaponry, weather manipulation, whatever they could do, time travel, astral projection, all of these using equipment so that they could learn how to open up the 90% of the brain that isn't being used and the 97% of the DNA. Of course, they wanted to do that in an artificial way instead of a natural way. And they also realized at that time that when there is a few people on the earth, and when I say a few, I'm talking about a couple of 100,000, that need or want to control billions of people, that weapons and laws are not enough, that the best way to do that is through mind control and programming. And that's what Montauk Project, among other projects, was about, and that's what my involvement was.
So you were actually a part of the Illuminati, Stewart?
Oh, no, you have to be born into that, and I'm afraid I'm much lower class than that. But But what happened is that they set up these mind control programs, and they pulled in people to work in there that had certain genetics, certain mind patterns that they felt that they could use and open up, and then project that out onto other people.
So you're saying you worked at this Camp Hero is what it was called?
Yes, it was a derelict Air Force base back in the 1960s, and then instead of closing it down completely, they enhanced or built further into the underground area because it was isolated out at Montauk, and then they created this project on mind control and genetic manipulation.
Okay, so tell us a little about the stalker programming. What is that?
Yeah, stalker programming is just one of many, of course. And what the stalker program function does is it creates an individual, I should say an alter, within the mind pattern of an individual that spies on people, reports back to a controller or a handler. It also is a very dangerous person because it can have murderous tendencies. And basically what it does is identifies other individuals who may not be following along what the Illuminati or a government agency wants them to do. And of course, if you do read one of the books, 13 Cubed, I do have a detailed listing of what the symptoms and functions are of that program. But I must mention that when a person has a programming function like this, it's not the only one. Usually they have at least a minimum of 5 major programs within the matrix so that it holds the place of the programming within the mind.
Oh, wow. That's deep. So let me ask you this question, Stewart. Red, white, and blue, which are our colors of our flag and everything pertaining to the 4th of July and the United States of America is red, white, and blue. What is it that you mean when you say these are triggers?
Yeah, well, the colors and patterns are what we call, can be, for some people, triggers. In other words, when you have a program function embedded into the mind pattern or the matrix, there it needs something to set it off or activate it. And what activates it is called a trigger. And that could be a color, a number, a word, a sequence of events. It could be so many different things depending on what the programmer puts in for that person. But, for example, the color red or the series of red, white, and blue, when you see that, could activate a particular function or bring out an alter in the matrix of that particular person.
Question. You said the programmer put in for that person. So are you suggesting that each person was actually at birth programmed?
Well, that's another
How
good
are you suggesting?
There's many different ways. You could have inherited programming. In other words, after something's been imprinted 3 times, it becomes genetically induced so that your genetics actually incorporate the program, and then you can pass that on to your offspring. That's one way. Another one is during early childhood, when they traumatize or imprint a child with a particular event that opens up their mind pattern and allows for the programming to be put in. These days, and I'm saying in the last 15 years or so, the technology is so advanced that they can simply transmit programs directly into your brain via satellite, cell phone, cell tower, television. You don't have to go anywhere particularly to get programmed. It's happening 24/7 all around the world at this point.
Okay.
And that's why I also teach protection techniques and deprogramming techniques so that you can block this.
Wow. So, okay, this programming that you're talking about, and of course, we've all heard, I'm sure the audience members have heard, and as well as yourself, Stewart, and my co-host, Shiva, we've all heard about the New World Order that's supposedly coming up as we make this shift and this transition. Do you know anything about the New World Order? And if you do, what is it that you can tell us about it?
Well, I have to tell you, it's not coming up. It's already here, and it has been for quite a long time. It's a plan that's been in process for literally thousands of years, and it's been enhanced in the 20th century and formalized or consolidated now in the 21st century. And that's basically what the big hype about 2012 is about. I will tell you and your audience that 2012 has nothing to do with the end of the world or cataclysms. It has nothing to do with the Mayan calendar. It has only to do with the agenda of the Illuminati, which is the 13 ruling families on the planet, to consolidate and complete dominate the world by that time period. And what the New World Order means is many things. It means everybody has a specific robotical function that they do not question, and they follow along blindly no matter what they're told. It also means the introduction of a global government, which we really already have behind the scenes, but it isn't officially public yet, so that there's only one control system around the entire planet. There'll be one monetary system, and even one new world religion that everyone must follow, or you will have to be either re-educated or reprogrammed or eliminated. So basically what I'm telling you is the New World Order is a robotical system, just like the Borg on Star Trek. It's kind of like that.
So what happens to those people who shift, who prepare themselves to shift to the fifth dimension? What happens to those people when it comes time for the New World Order, or when they start mandating that people follow certain things?
Well, I have some interesting information. Maybe you won't want to hear it, but there really is no such thing as shifting like that. I mean, you can open up your mind and connect to higher energies of yourself at any time. There is no shift coming up. That's a new age propaganda, if you will, that's been promulgated actually by the government since 1965. And basically what that is about, the New Age was created by the government in the 1960s in order to distill false information about religion, philosophy, ways of life, chakra systems, all kind of diverse information, so that by the time you realize none of that's happening, it's too late. So no, what we need to do, there's no shift. What you need to do is deprogram and do your release work and connect to your oversoul and the God mind within. That's what we should be doing. If we're sitting around waiting for some space brothers to save us or from archangels to come down and help us, you're going to be in for a big shock.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay, so with the shift in consciousness, all right, well, maybe I shouldn't use the terminology shift. As we become more conscious and we connect more with the God mind, what happens to those people that's connecting and who know that what is trying to be forced upon them is not what should be taking place? What happens to those people?
So you're talking about the people who are going through their deprogramming process. They're blocking
yes.
any incoming program, and so they realize, and so they know what's going on. Well, you know, it's like this. If you have the right mind pattern, you know, the mind creates everything. It creates your body. It creates your experiences. The outer world is a reflection or a projection out of the inner world. So the people that you're referring to, those who have the proper mind patterns, will not be affected by what is going on around them in the world. Whatever their circumstances are, they will not have to be part of that or caught up in that wave of insanity. And I'm seeing more and more of that happening, especially now, you know, in the news this week alone, with the TSA doing those invasive searches and the x-rays, and people saying, no, we're not doing that, and you're not going to touch me. You know, that's what I'm seeing, and I'm actually so happy to see people fighting back and saying, no, I have my dignity and my self-respect. You're not doing that to me. And I think that the Illuminati and the powers that be did not expect that to happen, and I think that, unfortunately, what their reaction could be is something even more severe, because I do feel very shortly there's going to be another global event that's going to be powerful, kind of like 9/11, but maybe in a different manner, in order to enhance their agenda. So I do urge people to open up their minds, connect to the God mind within, and do their deprogramming so that these events do not have an effect on you, and you actually become a world within a world.
So, Stewart, do you have any information or do you know of anything pertaining to the Stargate of Eden?
Well, you're talking about the thing off the coast of Yemen?
Yes.
Well, and that's another thing. You see, I know that you may not agree with the things that I say, and I understand that the audience may not either. I can only tell you what I know. But there is no Stargate there. What we see happening, what actually is there, is a very large volcanic eruption that's going on an island off the coast of Yemen, between Yemen and the eastern coast of Africa, basically off the country of Djibouti and Eritrea, and even Somalia. And what's happening is that there's a tectonic rift opening up, and the plates are subsiding, and eventually we're going to see a new sea open up in that eastern part of Africa as the continental land subsides. That's what's going on. It's not a Stargate. It's a tectonic collapse due to volcanic and seismic actions.
Okay, do you think that would be correlated with the Atlantis rising?
Well, yes and no, because Atlantis is not there. Atlantis is in the Caribbean area and the Atlantic area, which is the other side of Africa. But what we're seeing is, yes, that all the tectonic plates on the Earth are shifting, particularly in the Pacific and along the mid-Atlantic ridge, and also in the Indian Ocean, which is what's affecting the coast of Yemen. And so because of this, we're seeing a lot more earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, etc. And this is basically a natural event. However, the Illuminati, in order to create fear and hysteria so that programming can be more enhanced, are adding ELF and microwave pulses to the north and south poles so that the tectonic plates move more strongly and rapidly to make these earthquakes more dangerous and stronger. So they're taking a natural event and they're making it worse through artificial means in order to create more of a control system.
Okay, back to the mind control for just a moment here. Do you feel that, in your opinion, do you feel that the mind control has anything to do with what's going on in our world today, or how it's becoming more and more known, same-sex marriage, same-gender relationships, and things of that nature?
Yes, of course, mind control has a lot to do with all of that. What we see is what I call programming icons, like Britney Spears, Michael Jackson was one, all the famous entertainers, Madonna. And, you know, what they do, everybody copies. They're called icons, meaning whomever is programmed to associate with that individual by seeing their name, hearing their music, what have you, whatever that person does, the audience follows along. That's like when Britney Spears shaved her head, everybody in the, out there in the world started shaving their head, and that kind of a thing. When Madonna wore a red wristband, and everyone wore a red wristband. So they're basically copycats of the programming icon. And so we're seeing the breakup also, as they are, of relationships. By breaking up relationships, people become more isolated, depressed, more controllable, and less obvious when their function takes place. There's no one around to watch them. So it's very easy to manipulate that kind of a person. So yeah, the entertainment industry, politics, and even large corporations are very strongly icons in programming for the general population.
So, I mean, as far as same-sex relationships, do you think that has anything to do with the mind control, homosexuality and lesbianism and those things?
Yeah. Now, of course, those things are a natural part of humanity anyway. But the reason that they're being promoted or glorified, if you will, in the media is because of what is called sexual ritual programming and basically sexual magic, where the Illuminati use these rituals in order to create an energy that enhances an event or creates a mind pattern that can be projected out into the general public. By keeping same-sex marriages perhaps promoted, that takes away from family units. It takes away from child bringing. There's a lot of consequences of that kind of thing. Now, just to tell the audience, I'm not against anyone, being in love with each other. That's their own business. But to promote it and make it to be a big deal when it shouldn't be, that's part of the programming.
Okay. So, in your opinion, do you think, because back in October, I believe it was, October the 13th maybe, we had a lot of sightings of UFOs in the sky and things of that nature.
Yes.
What is your opinion on us receiving the visitations from extraterrestrials and other planets?
Well, that's a very old story. There's been aliens here since day zero. You know, the Bible talks about it. The God in the Bible is an alien. There's no God in, the one that talks about in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it says, let us make man in our image. It's plural. It's like this group of aliens sitting around saying, hey, let's go create some race on the earth. And that's exactly what they did. All of Genesis is about how alien beings created mankind. So they've been here for thousands and thousands of years. And there is a mind control program called Green Star. Green Star programming, which you might have read about in some of my books and on my DVDs, is about alien civilizations, alien connections, and unfortunately, the government very often masquerades as aliens when they abduct people and do genetic experimentation on them, and they put mask memories on the people who were involved with it, so that they think aliens did it when in fact the government was doing it to them. I will tell the audience, and again, it might go against everything that you think you believe or want to believe, but there are no alien races that are benevolent towards humanity. All the ones that have come here, and there's many, have their own agenda. And this Earth is very valuable property in the solar system and in the galaxy, and so there's a big curiosity about what's happened here, about all the experimentation that's gone on. Human beings are considered to be dangerous out there in the universe, and in fact, our planet, if you want a comparison, our planet would be like the Iran of the universe right now. Everyone out there saying, hey, we got to stop these guys because they're dangerous, and if we don't, they're going to come after us one day. And so that's what we're seeing happening now. And the Illuminati are in league with several alien groups which do not have a very nice agenda, and which basically use humanity for slave labor, genetic material, programming, you name it. We're used like animals to them. We're absolutely no importance other than that.
Okay, a question in the chat room. Someone in the chat room is asking if you could talk about the validity of black pharaohs in Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Egypt. First of all, the history of Egypt is much older than we're led to believe. The Sphinx is at least 15,000 years old. It's not 3,000 years old. It's over 15,000 years old. So Egypt has a long period of history. They actually were the descendants of the Atlanteans who came as refugees when Atlantis sank into the Atlantic Ocean. Egypt had a wide extensive influence across North Africa and Central Africa and even into Asia. And yes, there were black people from Africa who entered into Egypt and became part of that society and worked themselves up into higher levels of ruling over all the centuries and millennia. Absolutely correct. And what people also don't realize is that Egypt spread out. They had ships, and even once in Auckland, New Zealand, in the harbor of Auckland, New Zealand, they found the remnants of an Egyptian ship. And in Australia, in the middle of a desert area, they found hieroglyphics painted along a canyon wall that were thousands of years old. And the Montauk Indians in eastern Long Island had a leader they called Pharaoh. So the Egyptian influence is basically global, and of course history does not reflect that. But again, history is always written by the winners, and the ones who have the true history, of course, are obliterated.
Absolutely. Okay, before we go on, we have a lot of people in the queue who wants to ask questions. But before we take a call for questions, Stewart, I want you to give the audience your information on how to contact you, your website. Talk to them about how to purchase your books and get any information that you have out there.
Thank you. My website is www.expansions.com. That's EXPANSIONS.com. And on there you will find Q&A, you will find news, all our products. We are in the process of redoing the website. In fact, next week, cross your fingers, next week we'll have a brand new website up there, much better than the one we have even now. And so there will be many things that we'll be offering. We have a daily free newsletter right now. If you go on my website, you can sign up and get a daily free newsletter. We have many interesting trips coming up in 2011, amazing seminars starting in January and through the year. I have a men's group on a Friday night every month. One is coming up this Friday evening, those of you in the area that want to come. So there's a lot of information there for you to come and see. Expansions.com. You will find the orders on the products list and the service list. Just click on that and follow it along. It's pretty easy to follow.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
We're talking with Stewart Swerdlow, the author of the book, The 13 Cubed Case Studies in Mind Control and Programming. We do have a lot of callers. We're going to take our first caller, who's been waiting for a very long time, actually. Caller with the last four digits, 3340. Your name, please.
Jordana.
Hi, Jordana.
Hi.
Do you have a question for
Yes,
Stewart?
I do. Hi, Stewart.
Hi, Jordana.
Hi. I've been in touch with your wife the last few weeks. She wanted me to read a couple of books before we worked together. I just got them the other day, Decoding Your Life and Hyperspace Helper, I think. Just got it. And I called in today because I've been very ill for a very long time, and I've had a lot of hope that I would get well. And today I'm feeling like I'm going to give up, like I'm ready to go. And I don't know real what to do. I'm not suicidal, but I'm kind of like, I'm ready. I hurt all the time. And I'm living with a handler. She's controlling me, and I don't know my way out.
Well, Jordana, I think the first thing you need to do is put yourself in the color brown to ground and balance yourself and connect yourself back to the earth. In the books you have, there's a section on balancing your T-bar. You need to do that immediately. And you need to also keep yourself in violet protection, so any bombardment coming towards you is then filtered and reflected away. And the best thing, if you can, are you able to eat heavier proteins, like red meats, for example?
I don't eat red meat, but I can try. I'm basically bedridden. My mother makes me the food. I'm sensitive to everything. I get incredible headaches. I'm sensitive to paper, even when I read a book, and so it's very difficult. I'm inoperable. I'm in withdrawals from benzodiazepines and opiates, and I hurt all the time.
Are you able to drink distilled water?
Yeah, I'm drinking distilled water and also the new Kagon water.
I would say please to stick to the distilled water. Try if you can to get a sea salt bath using dead sea salt to purge the toxins out of your body.
Yeah, I don't have a bathtub right now.
Well, you can maybe get sea salt soap or something that you can put on the body. Use sea salt in your food. Ask your person there to get that for you. And I would urge you to read the books that you got and do those exercises. They will help you, because you need to get a foundation of getting your mind pattern together, reintegrating, balancing the left and right hemispheres of your brain. Work on your chakra system, but particularly use that color brown around you right now, because that will ground you and balance you. And for goodness sake, put the silver infinity of Oversoul over your crown chakra and connect to Oversoul, and then keep the brown around the rest of your body, and that will keep you in here and strengthen you, okay?
Okay.
Just do that. If you do anything, just do that, and that will keep you going until we're able to get more of a handle on you.
Okay. Is the I haven't gotten to the silver part yet. Is that in the hyperspace helper
Yes,
book?
helper. Yes, it is. Go read that. Just skip right to that chapter and read that, and do the chakra work too.
Okay. I actually just got the books 2 days ago, so I just started.
All right. Good. Start reading it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much, caller, for calling. You have a great evening. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we're talking with Stewart Swerdlow, the author of the book, 13 Cube Case Studies in Mind Control and Programming. Now, Stewart, question. What she's going through, would that have anything to do with mind control?
Yes, of course it does. Now, when I speak to a person, I do try to get their full birth name and birth date because that tunes me into their actual frequency. And so, yes, very often it can be programming. It could be a trauma from childhood that's come to the surface. It could be so many other things. So, I have to give general advice until I actually get to scan the person. But what I told this woman to do will at least keep her grounded and balanced and stay in her body.
Okay, wow. Well, let's go to the next caller. We have caller, last 4 digits of your phone number is 0411. You have a question for Stewart? Caller, are you there? 0411? Okay, we're not getting anything from that caller. We'll take another caller. Caller ending in 0632. Your name?
Hi, Stewart. This is Christian of Brooklyn out in Arizona. How you doing?
Hi, Christian. How are you?
Good. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to just say thank you for just sharing this information. And I've been a long time student of Stewart. I'm in the chat room as a thought home. But I did have a quick question. With you talking about programming. So as far as history is concerned, was the whole thing of slavery a deliberate, an act by the powers that be, the Illuminati, to program black people on the planet? Because I know you were talking about in the Montauk Project and in programming that, a lot of, severe torture goes on to imprint the person, and if it's imprinted 3 times, it goes into that person's genetics. And I don't know if you're familiar with the document, the Willie Lynch Address, but that was, a document written by a slave owner that basically said, in order to keep your slaves in check, put the light-skinned slaves against the dark-skinned slaves, the men against the women, the young against the old, and if you do this, this will last for hundreds of years. And, of course, you notice in the black community, we all have those issues going on. So was that a deliberate form of programming to program black people?
Absolutely, Christian. And, they found it very difficult to program black people because they were so connected to the earth and to nature and to the natural energies, and they knew what to do to heal themselves and to fix themselves. And, of course, a lot of that's been taken away these days through the decades. But the programming had many purposes. You see, they wanted to rip the families apart of the African people so that they would not have a support system and procreate properly. They wanted to rip them away from their land because especially the British royal family was interested, and still is, by the way, to completely control all the natural resources of Africa, which are vast and still mostly untapped. And because in the genetics of the African people was the information about the history and creation of mankind, as Credo Mutwa in South Africa talks about, they wanted to make sure that this information never got out into the public. So that's why they would take families and scatter them across different continents, different islands in the Caribbean. They would keep people apart. They would beat them. You know what they did. It was a horrible thing. And in fact, they're still doing it today. They're trying to kill off all the black Africans, so that their resources can be taken. And whoever they cannot program, they eliminate. And as I told you, it's the black Africans, it's the American Indians, all the Aborigines, all the native peoples who have the connections to the earth and the energies. They want to remove that knowledge to replace it with false information so that they cannot teach the real information to other people. And that's what we see happening now, and they're killing them off with AIDS and Ebola and dengue fever and malaria and all kinds of illnesses and wars and famines in Africa, so that there will be nobody left in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Now, I heard that they were killing them off, or they were trying to actually get the melanin from black people. What would be your take on that?
Well, you know, the darker the skin, the harder it is to control the mind. They have found, for example, why do they promote the blonde, the Aryan type? It's not because it's pretty. It's because there's an enzyme in the genetics that allows for mind control and programming to take hold. The darker the skin of a person, the less of the enzyme there is in that mind control possibility. So by removing the melanin from the skin, they're opening up or allowing the enzyme for mind control to take hold. And that's what they're doing. Do you remember, not that long ago, I think it was somewhere in Europe, a black African family from Nigeria had a white baby, and they couldn't figure out why. Do you remember that story?
No.
Yeah, I do remember that story. I do.
Yeah, and
I remember that.
And that was part of a genetic experiment that they weren't even aware of, that couple, in order to see if they could remove the melanin from the skin and allow the mind control enzyme to pervade the DNA. And they were successful. That was what the programming for Michael Jackson was about. He was probably the most programmed person on the earth. He didn't know if he was black or white, male or female, human or alien. He didn't know what he was. He was completely mind controlled, and he was so depressed and upset about it. That is why he drugged himself every night. He had doctors give him drugs and alcohol so that he could just not pay attention to it anymore. And finally, when he became a liability, they just eliminated him, because he was murdered, and even his sister and his family knows that. So he was perhaps the perfect icon for black Americans or for black people everywhere, because he was an example of how you can control them through manipulation, and that was unfortunate.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay.
This is interesting.
Let's talk a little bit about the Disney program. We know that the children love Disney World. Mm-hmm. Absolutely love it. And most families take their children to Disney World. But from what I've researched in your book, the Disney program is actually not really good. Tell us a little bit more about the Disney program.
Yeah. Walt Disney worked directly for the Illuminati. He was a person who was able to implement some of the mind control programs that we see in what we call the virtual reality of the Matrix, and he was able to bring it forward physically into these amusement parks, these Disney theme parks, where you had these creatures come to life, you know, the Snow White and have the Magic Castle and all the characters walking around, making them real, so that the point of it was, for children especially, that they would not know or understand the difference between what's real and what's fantasy, so that things could be done to them and given to them, and they wouldn't know the difference. They won't know what's awake, what's dream, what's true, what's not. Complete confusion of reality and actuality. That's what the mind control and programming was about. And very often, and you probably read about it in some of my books, that when a person has a dream or an image of cartoon characters, that is a projection or a satellite transmission of mind control and programming, especially to a younger person with Disney programming, and there's many different forms of it, so that they go into an altar of fantasy so that they're unable to deal with the real world. Another aspect of it is the use of video games, computer games, that you see these kids, and all they're doing is on the computer, have those handheld devices looking at them. You can talk to them. They can't hear you. They do it while they're in school, while they're trying to work. It's absolutely mindless. It makes them into these robots that are connected to these devices instead of to their own mind. And that's very dangerous and scary to think about what the future generation will be like, who are unable to take care of themselves because they don't know the difference between what's fantasy and what's real.
So let me ask you this question, Stewart, and this is off the topic of the Disney program. But can you talk to us a little bit more about religion and what takes place with religion as it pertains to the New World Order?
Yes, and
religion the way we see it now and how we will see it then.
Yes, and let me preface it first by saying I owe no disrespect to any religious people out there who may be listening, but I will tell you that organized religion is probably the original mind control on the earth, and that is how they really control people remotely. Because in the ancient times, they would tell you, God will kill you if you do this or that, or if you don't believe in this, or you don't eat that, or pray this way or that way, you'll die and you'll go burn in hell forever. So that way you control people even when you can't watch them, because they're so afraid to not do this religious protocol because they'll die or burn in hell, that they'll just follow it along blindly because they're afraid of what God will do to them. That's a perfect mind control system, see? And I will tell you that the Catholic Church is perhaps the most heinous of all of them. Because what do they tell you? That you're born in sin. You don't stand a chance. The second you're born, you're condemned. And then you have to spend your whole life, praying that God will take you into heaven instead of purgatory. So that's, to me, that's like the worst of all of it. But every religion, and I don't care what the religion is, it's all mind control and programming. God does not have a religion. God allows for all things. Everything that exists is from God mind, so everything is from it. And so all you have to do is believe in God, but you can worship it, and it's not a he or a she, it's an it, any way that you see fit, as long as you're kind to yourself and other people. Now, the thing is, they will impose a new world religion, which I mentioned earlier, that everyone will be forced to believe in. How they're going to do it is by creating a staged alien invasion, in other words, a fake invasion, where an alien race will come and save us from this evil race, and then a second coming of Christ will be manufactured, so that this new Christ, or the second coming, will say that this is his new holy empire. The New World Order is his new holy empire, and that we all need to believe in it and support this New World Order and religion. So that's how they're trying to do all this by 2012, by the way. So things are going to have to move pretty rapidly in 2011, I think. And I see that happen.
So that's what they consider the Blue Beam Project, correct?
Well, they're using Blue Beam, which projects holographic images into the sky and even into your home, if they want to, so that you think that there's flying saucers in the air, that the Virgin Mary appeared in your room, or whatever they're going to do. They can project this holographic three-dimensional image, and they even have the technology so that it has sound produced with it. It can be actually felt like it was real, and it can even be picked up on radar. That's how amazing the technology is.
Wow. That's deep.
Okay. It's amazing.
So do you think that there's a way to totally stop this New World Order?
Well, a very good question, because here's the answer. We, all of us, as individuals, as a species, we are responsible for what we have created and projected out onto this planet. We must take responsibility. Humanity as a species has a victimization mind pattern, which means we attract and create oppressors and tyrants. So tomorrow morning, if everybody out there woke up and had removed their victimization, the Illuminati could no longer exist, and none of this will happen. And so that's why I try my very best as a single individual and to train others to do your deprogramming. Open up the 90% of your brain the way you're supposed to use it. Open up the 97% of the DNA, which they call junk, which is really the instructions from the God mind. That's what we need to do. Work on your own self and then project that new, better self out into the world, and we change it piece by piece by piece until finally there is an overwhelming response that overflows to the rest of the world. And that's hopefully what we'll be seeing as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Okay, calling last four digits 0632. Did you have any more questions for Stewart?
I don't know if you can get into it, Stewart. I was asking in the chat room, could you, I don't know, give a brief overview or some type of overview how people can use the white winged lion or the golden winged lion frequency to help deprogram? Because going back, I know the lion was a real, revered animal in a lot of African cultures, and I'm sure there was some tie into that frequency as to, how those, were connected.
Yes, in fact, the Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia was called the Lion of Judah, and there's a connection there to ancient Israel as well. In fact, there's a lot of black Jews in Africa, especially in Ethiopia and Sudan and even in Israel now. And to answer the question is difficult because I need to show you the frequency. I need to show you the archetype to use. And I can't do that on the phone because I can't show you the shapes of it. But I would then suggest that...
You can use Blueprint Project. There we go.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest that the listeners perhaps go to expansions.com, look at the White Winged Lion frequency template, the Golden Winged Lion energy. In my book, True Reality of Sexuality, I have a diagram and how to use it in there, and it would help all of them, everybody out there, if you would read and do that and empower yourselves and take your mind back.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you also.
Thank you, caller, for calling. You have a great evening.
All right, you too.
Okay, we're talking with Stewart Swerdlow, the author of the book 13 Cubed Case Studies in Mind Control and Programming. We're going to go to another caller, and that caller is, last four digits is 0411. Caller, are you there? Caller, 0411, are you there?
Maybe they're having some type of issue.
Maybe I scared them away.
Stewart, you scared the people away. Okay. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to move on. I want to ask you a question about the chapter in your book that you have, Do Unto Others. Can you go into a little more detail about that chapter?
Well, do you have a specific question about it or just a general?
Well, if you could just tell me what that chapter consists of, Do Unto Others.
Well, what do unto others means is that everybody that you see in your life and have in your life is a reflection of you. And so basically what you're doing to them, you're doing to yourself. And so you must be kind to everybody around you. Even the person you dislike the most, the one who is giving you the hardest time in your life, that is still a reflection of you. I always say to people, look in your life at who is the most irritating and annoying person to you. And then say, okay, what are the traits and characteristics of that person? Write them down and be very honest and careful about it. And when you look at that list, even though you may not like what's on there, that's inside of you. And what you're doing, because you don't want to accept that as being part of you, you won't admit it, you project it out into other people who then reflect it back for you. So the person who is the most difficult and disturbing to you is the one who is showing you the parts of yourself that need to be corrected. And once you fix that and you treat other people the way you want to be treated, then you won't attract that kind of energy anymore, and your life will be that much more balanced and happy. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what that chapter's about.
So what does that have to do with the reptilians?
You're asking a lot of strange questions over there. Well, what does anything have to do with the reptilians? They are the original colonizers of this planet. And as you know from my Blue Blood book, the reptilians were the ones who helped to create mankind by giving us their genetics. That's why we have a reptilian brainstem. We have skin that wrinkles and peels. We have reptilian lymphatic system. And so basically we are part of them and they're part of us. And that's the fight or flight reaction within us. And so we need to look at that too. How do we react to things? Why do we fight against things? What's going on there? So that's the reptilian part of us, and that's the foundation of all human life at this point.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Okay, Stewart, I want you to give the people your information again, how to contact you and all that great stuff.
Yeah. My website is www.expansions.com. On there, again, I have my updated news every day. I translate the news for you. I have Q&As you can write in and post questions that I will answer. You can sign up for a free daily newsletter that I do every day. It will come in your mailbox, free newsletter with information. We have seminars, we have conferences, consultations, books, DVDs, everything that will make your life better is on that website, and there'll be a new website hopefully next week by Thanksgiving. A brand new website will be revealed for Expansions, the same name, expansions.com. And go on there, read as much as you can, go in the archives, ask questions. We're always here to serve you.
Okay, and we have a little bit more. Thank you so much. We have a little bit more time, and I have one more question that I want to ask you, Stewart. The last question of the night is, who's going to win?
Very interesting question. And the answer is you. We're all going to win. Each one of us is going to win. Because you know what? As dire as it looks, as oppressive as it looks, we have to realize we came here for a reason. This is the most amazing classroom we could ever have created, because everything you can imagine is available here. And that's why it's so interesting to the aliens as well, because this planet is one of the most diverse planets in the universe, and there's so much opportunity for both good and bad, for everything. And so we came here to learn and to experience and grow and become who and what we really are, and find out our connection to ourself, the soul personality, the oversoul, and the God mind within, and then to become the true self. That's why we're here. And all of these negative events that happens, all of the wars, the famines, the political garbage, all of this is for a reason. And even though we may not on the surface understand or like it, we have to accept it as a learning experience to assimilate, so we never have to go through anything like that again. So that's what we're here to do on this planet, whether we like it or not. And that's why we were all volunteers. Nobody forced us.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Stewart. You're so great. So can I get you to come back to the show again? Come back to the show again and give us some more information, because there's so much that we didn't have the opportunity to ask that I definitely would like to get into.
Well, because you asked me so nice, I'll say yes.
Oh, you're so wonderful. That's
you
why
love us.
Say yes, because you're so wonderful.
Well,
and by the way, I want to let everyone know. I want to let everyone know also that Stewart's wife, Janet Swerdlow, will be with us on December the 1st at 8:00 p.m. So please, by all means, come back and listen in to see what she has to say. I'm sure it would be as interesting as her husband, because we women, we always do much better than the husbands.
Well, yeah, she's better
We're
than me.
the better half.
It's the truth. It's the truth. She's very beautiful and intelligent, and she does toning that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And she
Absolutely.
also has a very interesting background.
Oh, yes. I can't wait to hear about it. And you were going to say something before I said that. Did you want to make one last comment before the end of the show?
Well, I want to thank you and Sheba for inviting me on the show. I appreciate it very much. And I want to thank all of the people in the chat room and the callers, because I appreciate them also. And I hope to hear from all of you again and to speak to you soon. And to remember, no matter what you see out there, no matter what happens out there, don't be afraid, because it's all there as part of the show, and you have a front row seat. And in the end, you'll stand up and applaud and say, wow, I really learned something from this.
Wow. That's great. Thank you so much, Stewart. You're so awesome. And it was definitely my pleasure to have you on the show. And I definitely look forward to having you back again. It was